Welcome back. So we have 11 games to look at if you're looking for the reviews of the early games. The matinees, I already did that earlier. That's a separate video on the channel. And let's be honest, tonight's games, we were lacking in goals for the first few hours of action here, for the most part. There were a few games that were exceptions, and there was a goal I even missed in this game and realized it. And if you look at the board, you can see it. We'll get to that because it's not my proudest moment. But that being said, let's go ahead and jump in with Buffalo and Toronto. This game felt really important. Toronto has not won the second half of a back-to-back all year. Now, people will point out, but Freddie Anderson was in net tonight. Yep. Now, for Buffalo, this was an important one because they won last night and they wanted to keep up that momentum. And in the first period, the edge in the shots went to the Leafs, and there was a power play late for the Sabres. Now, the reason for a lack of notes in the first period on these games is that I was doing my treadmill, which overlapped into the first period of the 4 o'clock games, 4 o'clock my time, 7 o'clock Eastern, and so that's why there aren't a lot of notes. But Toronto played very well in that first period. I thought Buffalo had their chances too. This was a really, really fun first period between two teams that needed a win. Second period, VC took a shot to the ankle. Pretty sure he stayed in the game, but it's one of those ones that goes off the inside of the foot. Nylander would then score on the power play from Matthews and Tavares at 5 minutes and 30 seconds. So that's his 10th of the year. And the shots at that point were 19-8 in favor of the Toronto Maple Leafs. They were playing really, really well. But I couldn't help thinking, but they're only up by 1. The Sabres got a power play. That was their second. Disjointed power play for the Sabres, which hasn't scored in, I think, their last 12 or 13 opportunities now. It's been a while since they've scored a power play goal, and when you compare it to early in the season when they could score at will on that power play, it's really bizarre to watch. Hutton was keeping it a 1-goal game. Anderson then denied Skinner. Skinner had some good opportunities tonight, and Olofsson ended up hitting the crossbar before the end of the second period. So we go into the third, and it's 1-0 Toronto. Now it's 6:58. Ristolainen would score from Montour and Eichel to tie it up. Jack Eichel, great game tonight. It doesn't really show up on the score sheet other than this assist, but he had a really good game. The Sabres pressed. They knew at that point, I believe, they had a chance to steal this game. A game that they didn't necessarily play great the whole 60 minutes. They had a chance to steal it. Hutton then held on as the Leafs came back and they pressed. And he robbed Johnsson with seconds left. Andreas Johnsson, great chance. And he's robbed by Hutton. So Carter Hutton gets this game into overtime. In overtime, Eichel was in beast mode again early on. He had the puck. He's ragging the puck around. Jack Eichel's one of the best players in the league right now. And I know Buffalo's been going through a lot of frustrating games over this month, but it hasn't been on Eichel. Olofsson then was stopped by Anderson. The puck goes the other way. Tavares would score from Kapanen and Johnsson at 1:45, and it is the first time they've won the second half of a back-to-back this year. 99.9% sure on that because I did a video on it, so I'm pretty sure they haven't played a back-to-back since then. And again, we can discuss whether this is because Freddie Anderson was in net. If Hutchinson had been in net, Buffalo would have won the regulation, whatever you want to say to frame it. But them winning this game felt important. Hutton saved 41 out of 43. Anderson saved 29 out of 30. Your 3 stars are Tavares, Anderson, and Hutton. Power plays, Buffalo went 0 for 2. Toronto scored on their only power play in the game. The shots were 11-8 Toronto in the first, 16-11 Toronto in the second, 13-9 Toronto in the third, and in the overtime 3-2. So in a minute and 45 seconds, there were 5 shots in that overtime. That's a pretty good overtime. 43-30 were the shots in favor of the Maple Leafs, but very low scoring game overall. All right, moving along. Washington. And you know what? If I'd put an Akbar magnet on this game, I kind of felt good about that prediction early. Fabry would score on a power play from Larkin and Zadina at 11:47. So Philip Zadina on the board with an assist, Fabry with another goal. The Caps got a power play late. They wouldn't score on it. And after one period, I thought, you know what? Maybe Detroit is going to score this huge upset victory. Because on some level, I'm rooting for them, but they dig themselves so deep. The Wings started the second with a power play. The Caps penalty kill then drew a Wings penalty. So the Wings started the second with a power play, and then the Caps end up getting one, and they don't have a problem scoring on it. Oshie scores from Vrana and Kuznetsov at 2:19. The Caps got another power play. They wouldn't score on that, but before we're halfway through that period, Ovechkin scored from Karlsson and Kuznetsov at 9:21. Ovechkin had a pretty good night. Although, we'll get into how that turned out. Bernier stopped Eller. It was a really nice play there. Eller with a nice shot. Bernier saved it. The Wings got a power play. They did have the one power play goal in the first. That would be the extent to their success on the power play. Third period, the Wings buzzed at around the 13-minute mark, but they have major scoring issues. I had to put that up there. Like, they have major scoring issues. Then Wilson scored from Ovechkin and Kuznetsov at 14:23. But before you're even done celebrating that goal, Glendening scored from Bertuzzi at 14:32. So 9 seconds. 9 seconds. Then they pulled the goalie, and I'm watching, and Ovechkin scores from Oshie into the empty net at 18:25. So I turn away from that game. I put the score up on the board, and I'm looking at all the other games that are finishing. And then I'm reviewing this after I put Samsonov had 25 saves on 27 shots, Bernier had 29 saves on 32 shots. Your three stars are Ovechkin, Samsonov, Larkin. The shots were 12-9 in the first for Washington, 13-5 for Washington in the second, 13-9 in favor of Detroit in the third. Final shots 34-27. Power play 1 for 3 for Washington, 1 for 4 for Detroit. So I'm scrolling around and I see Ovechkin with the hat trick, and I went, no, he didn't. Did they take one of the other goals away? And I'm scrolling through and scrolling. No. Oshie, Ovechkin, Wilson, Ovechkin. Oh, Ovechkin. Empty net? They pulled the goalie again? They were down by 2. What did Blashill think was going to happen? They're just magically going to remember how to score goals twice against the Capitals in a minute and a half? Dear Lord. That just, and I don't know why that frustrates me, but that's the kind of goalie pull that to me is just about trying to get another empty net goal against. I know there were a lot of empty net goals scored these days. There were also a lot of goals scored when teams pull the goalie, but that gives Ovechkin a hat trick. 2 of them are empty netters. And he had an assist tonight as well. So when you look at the scoreline at the end of the night, it's going to be Ovechkin with 3 goals and an assist. Don't be surprised if he's one of the 3 stars of the week on Monday. But 2 of them are empty netters. He now has 20 goals. This is like the 86th season in a row he's had 20 goals. Something like that. He's pretty good at getting goals. And 2 of them on the empty net. I guess Detroit was more optimistic than I was. All right, moving along. Carolina. Carolina's got to stop doing this. And I know they got away with it. The funny thing is, it was kind of the opposite of what happened the last time these teams played each other. So first period, Aho scores on a power play from Svechnikov and Hamilton at 4:49. Martinook then scored from Bishop and Slavin at 7:30. Pretty sure that's Martinook's first goal of the year. Late power play for Tampa, wouldn't score, and then with 7 seconds left, Slavin scores from Aho. So in 1953, it's 3-0 in favor of Carolina. Easy game, right? Second period, the Bolts get an early power play. Reimer denied Stamkos during said power play. The Canes penalty kill came through, and it had come through a couple of times by that point. And I felt Reimer, he's on an upswing. He's coming off of a shutout. Coming out of the second period, it's still 3-0. But in the third, Carolina kind of did what Tampa did the last time these teams played each other. They just kind of didn't lock it down. You need to lock it down against a team like Tampa because they have the talent to come back and burn you. It's point scoring from Kucherov and Hedman at 3:26. That's a power play goal. That's the other problem. Carolina took way too many penalties. Johnson scored from Cirelli and Sergachev at 8 minutes and 50 seconds, and it's a 1-goal game. That's too close. That's too close. They would hold on. They would win it. They had a power play very, very late in this game, did the Canes, so that helped them, kill the rest of the game. They did have a power play as well with 5 minutes left, so we're talking about discipline issues on both teams in this one. Reimer saved 36 out of 38. Like I said, he continues his upswing. McElhinney saved 21 out of 24. Your 3 stars are Reimer, Slavin, and Tyler Johnson. Power plays 1 for 4 for Carolina, 1 for 6 for the Tampa Bay Lightning. You can't give them 6 power plays most nights. Usually you'll see at least 2 out of 6, probably 3 out of 6. Shots were 12-9 Carolina in the first, 14-10 for Tampa in the second, and very un-Carolina-like number, 15-3 for Tampa in the third for final shot totals of 38-25. Reimer locked this down as well as he could. They allowed 29 shots in the last 2 periods. You can't do that. So they kind of did the reverse of what happened the last time these teams met each other. But Carolina gets the win, so kudos to them. And for Tampa, this is a disappointing result, so power rankings are coming up tonight. And yeah, based on this week's results, I had no choice but to drop Tampa down a bit. And yes, those are tonight. Those are after this. All right, next up, Florida. And honestly, this is kind of where we were at tonight, where there was a lot of games that didn't have a ton of goals in them. You got 3, you got 7, you got 5, and this one 3. Late power play for the Panthers. That was their second of the period. Trocheck had a chance that hit the side of the net. There wasn't really a whole lot to report from a first period that had 13 shots in it. Second period, Stralman scores early from Sevier and Achari at 1:06. The Panthers then got their third power play, which was not effective tonight, but the power plays don't end up meaning a whole lot. The Predators got a power play near the 12-minute mark. You then end up with these guys playing 4-on-4 for an extended period late in this period. But Florida emerges from the second with a 1-0 lead. And going into the third, the only question I had was, can the Panthers hold the lead? I've wanted to see the Panthers hold down a lead and show we can do this. Dadonov had a fast break, just missed. And then about 30 seconds later, Dadonov missed high. Dadonov had a great game. Stralman would then score from Trocheck. That's at 8:38. That's the 4th time in his career Anton Stralman scored 2 goals in the same game. Barkov would then score from Dadonov and Yandel at 11:09. And that pretty much did it. The only question left was whether or not this rookie kid would keep the shutout. And in the last minute, the Predators pushed to try to break that goose egg, and they didn't. So after getting a shutout in their last game, now it's Nashville's turn to get shut out, 3-0 by Florida. And this is one of the best games I've seen Florida play this year. Saros saved 24 out of 27. Drieger, I have issue with this. So he saves 27 shots for a shutout. Great night. I went to school with a girl with this last name, and it was Drieger. And I've referred to him as Drieger all the way through. And then I hear the announcer tonight saying Drieger, and I'm like, he drops the D? So okay. And it just reminds me of Pietrangelo. Oh, sorry, it's Pietrangelo. It's the same thing. So Drieger with the shutout tonight, and he is on the 3 stars. Stralman, Drieger, and Barkov. It just sounds weird to me. That's 30 years. I've been referring to it as Drieger, and now it's Drieger. That's just weird. I need to find her on Facebook and message her and tell her off. You lied to me. Why didn't you tell me how your name was really pronounced? At which point she'll say, that is how my name's pronounced, and then I'll just block her. Shots, 8-5 for Nashville in the first, 11-10 Florida in the second, 11-9 Florida in the third. I genuinely don't. She'd be under a married name. I have no idea. 27-27 overall the shots. Like I said, neither team scored on the power play. Nashville didn't score at all. But Florida, this is the kind of win I've been wanting to see from them, and against a quality opponent in the Nashville Predators, who have been trying to get back into the playoffs, and they're still not sitting in the top 8 in the West. So it's been a frustrating go for them. That being said, I now need to change boards. Yes. The Islanders are back. You can tell it's an Islanders game because I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. It's just your standard. There wasn't even penalties, fights, and for Columbus, this is a frustrating return to form for Columbus. Not the kind you want to be having either, where you get some shots, you get your chances, you just can't put them away. So Werenski ended up leaving the game. I didn't see if he came back into the game. I know he left the game. I meant to check his ice time before I started this video. Apologies that I didn't. Lee would score from Bailey and Barzal at 1 minute and 18 seconds. Columbus was evening out the play, but somewhere along the way, Thomas Greiss leaves the game. Varlamov went in, and apparently it looked like he was ill. So Greiss took ill, and all I can think is with what Bernier's going through, it is kind of flu season. So, I guess Greiss leaves and Varlamov comes in. But it's 1-0 after 1, and when you get that other goalie in there, you want to take as many shots as possible, and maybe that's why Columbus got so many. But Barzal would score from Pelech at 16:01 of the second period, and Varlamov was keeping Columbus off the board. And there really wasn't a whole lot else to say. I didn't see that much from Columbus to tell me they were going to come back. Merzlikins was in net, meaning nope. Third period, Varlamov continued to be the story in that third period. The Islanders didn't generate very many shots. They didn't really need to. Merzlikins doesn't get goal support. This is something we know, and he still doesn't have a win yet in his career. Pretty sure on that one. They pulled the goalie with 3.5 minutes left. Columbus got a power play with 3 minutes left, but even 6-on-4, it wasn't happening. They could not break that goose egg. So for Columbus, you take a step forward, you take a step back. You take a step forward, you take a step back. And we are at that part of the year where if you keep playing .500 hockey, you're going to have trouble. Last year, for instance, the St. Louis Blues, at this part of the year, they started playing .500 hockey. They were outside the playoff spots. And I said, you can't play .500 hockey and end up making the playoffs, and St. Louis is in trouble. And we know how that turned out. So Merzlikins saves 25 out of 27. It's not really a cautionary tale at all, is it? Merzlikins saves 25 out of 27. They're not the Blues, but they have blue in their name, so kind of. Greiss saves 9 out of 9 before he exits, apparently with illness, not injury. Varlamov saves all 30 shots he faced. He was the first star. Barzal and Lee get the other 2 stars. And for people who are wondering, when 2 goalies share the net, and it's a shutout, they get a shared shutout, which means neither of them actually have a shutout on their record. It's been that way throughout all of hockey's history. It just means that if you look at the Islanders' stats in a magazine, you'll see shared shutout. It'll give the date. I don't think the NHL website has that underneath team stats. I just know that from seeing it in yearbooks that I've seen shared shutouts and the date on there. I have never really seen it online. Power plays, Columbus was 0 for 1. The Islanders didn't need any. So that kind of breaks a streak that the Islanders have had of giving up too many power plays. Anyways, the shots were 13-12 for the Islanders in the first, 10-8 for Columbus in the second, and 17-6 for Columbus in the third. The shots were there. I just never got any impression during this game Columbus was going to have any chance of winning it. Once it was 2-0, I'm like, all right, Islanders won this one. Final shots 39-27 for Columbus, and yeah, the Islanders I think are back. Being home definitely helps them, and they didn't need very many goals tonight, did they? And yet Barzal manages 2 points. All right, next up. Ottawa's back to being Ottawa. So again, if you were a Senators fan and a week ago you were panicked over winning, don't worry, the losing is back. They've lost 4 in a row after this one tonight. Dubé would score at 18:56 to make it 1-0 for Calgary in a period that was really dominated by some pretty solid goaltending all around. Second period, Riddick stopped Pajot. So Jean-Gabriel Pajot, who continues the amazing run that he's on. He is the Ottawa Senators offense. He is their defense. If they trade him out, they may get back a really, really good return right now. Seriously. The Senators were ahead in shots. It's 16-11 at that point in the game. The Flames get a power play. The Senators get a power play late. By the end of that period, it's still the Senators that are ahead in the shots, 19-15. Entering the third, Flames start waking up. The Flames were ahead 5-1 in shots around the 9-minute mark. And then we go into one of these goal episodes that have happened in Ottawa games now twice in a row. And both times it's ended up being negative for them. Pajot scored from Chabot at 14:49. It's a tie game for 1 minute and 1 second. Lindholm scored from Monahan and Stone at 15:50. And less than 3 minutes later, Lindholm scored on the empty net from Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk at 18:26. So, over a period of less than 4 minutes, you get 3 goals, 2 of them for Calgary. Högberg saved 24 out of 26, so pretty solid debut for this kid. And Riddick saved 26 out of 27. He was fantastic. He's your first star. Lindholm's your second star. Johnny Gaudreau's your third star. I'm just kidding. They gave Lucic the second star and Lindholm the third star. I can't even find a stat that tells me why they put Lucic as the second star. I thought, well, did he get a bunch of hits? I looked at the stats. I'm like, no. Blocks? No. Did he have the best Movember? Is that what this is? Did Vegas pick the stars? All right. Ottawa was 0 for 1 on the power play because, of course, they were. Their power play sucks. Calgary's 1 for 3 on the power play. Prove me wrong, Ottawa. Prove me wrong. The shots were 10-8 for Ottawa in the first, 9-7 Ottawa in the second, 12-8 for Calgary in the third. So they understood what was at stake. This is a game they had to win, and they won it. Final shots, 27 for each team. So Calgary, they avoid the dreaded trap. Although, again, with the way Ottawa was playing up until about a week ago, I can't qualify it as a trap game. The record's too good. They are descending back into trap territory, though, now that they're back to being 4 games below 500. Everybody can stop panicking when I say I hope they win their share of games. This is kind of what I expected, because they don't have a lot of top-end talent. And in the battle of the Tkachuk brothers, Matthew Tkachuk's the winner tonight. All right, moving along. Pittsburgh. This is a tough one because, again, Rust's out. And for Pittsburgh, a lot of injuries. To which St. Louis goes, "Ha! We had Nathan Walker on the first line." And it worked. Who knew Nathan Walker needed to be on the first line? The Blues got a power play. Shen ended up hitting the post. Murray then denied Shen. You know what? Matt Murray played really, really well at the start of this game. The first 7.5 minutes, he looked fantastic. Falk scores what I believe was his first of the season, which would be his first as a Blue, from O'Reilly and Sanford at 7:52. And the Penguins are definitely missing Rust at this point in the year. So 1-0 St. Louis after one. Second period, Lafferty scores from Blandisi and Ruedel at 6:27. The Penguins then got a power play, and things look good. But St. Louis goes the other way and scores. It's Walker from Schwartz and Bouwmeester at 14:01. Nathan Walker with a goal. He had a goal in the last game. It was called back due to an offside. This one counts. Third period, Barbashev scored from Thomas at 2:54. That was a great goal for Barbashev. He continues the hot streak he's been on lately. Sanford then pushed towards the net. The shots were only 2-0 though for the Blues at 6:40 into that period. So one of the two shots had gone in, but they were pressuring really well. And then McEachern would score from De La Rose at 7:09. So the pressuring continued and it worked. And what you see here is Falk, Walker, Barbashev, McEachern. These are all depth guys getting goals. Guys who don't normally score goals getting them. Barbashev, I think that was only his 4th of the year. So good example of how St. Louis's depth comes in handy. This is why I don't panic when everybody's injured. The Penguins were still without a shot in the third period at that point. Walker playing with Shannon Schwartz is a pretty good idea. So I had to put that on the board. These guys together is a good idea. Nathan Walker's making it so that when they start getting healthier, they're going to have to find a spot for him, at least temporarily, something. Sometimes these things don't work. Like Ty Ratty had his period with Edmonton where it looked like he was going to stick around and then he fell apart. Maybe what Walker's going through is another Ty Ratty type situation, but at least for tonight he looked really good. Walker ended up hitting a crossbar. So he almost had 2. Then it was a post for Perron on a 3-on-2. So pretty good game. Letang then scored from Simone and Malkin at 13:03, which made it more interesting than it should have. The Blues, though, got a late power play, and they made him pay. Schwartz from Perron and Shen at 17:05. That makes it 5-2, and that really ends it. Murray saved 22 out of 27. Binnington saved 29 out of 31. Your 3 stars, Nathan Walker, because of course he's first star, Falk, and Binnington. Power plays, Pittsburgh 0 for 2, St. Louis 1 for 3. The shots, 9-7 St. Louis in the first, 19-8 Pittsburgh in the second, and in the third, 10-5 St. Louis. Final shots, 31-27 in favor of the Penguins. And not a horrible road game. However, St. Louis is playing really, really well. St. Louis absolutely looks like they're on a mission to repeat, and it doesn't matter if everybody gets hurt. You'll just bring everybody up from the American League, and they'll continue on that run. All right. Next up, San Jose. Big game for the Sharks tonight. This is a big one, and this might be, for me, the most impressive game I've seen San Jose play this season. You have an Arizona team that at home have been pretty good, and they get off to a good start. It's Schmaltz from Dvorak and Garland at 1:33, and then less than a minute later, Stepan scored from Keller, and it's 2-0 pretty early here, which led me to put up underneath the next goal. Did I jinx Jones? Like, I was worried. I was like, wait, I've been talking about Martin Jones' save percentage again. I talked last night during the preview about him being up to 896. Did I jinx him? So, Couture would score from Erik Karlsson and Kane at 11:01. It was a really nice goal by Couture, but I was still worried that I had jinxed Martin Jones. 2-1 for Arizona after 1. Second period, Gambrell scores from Melker Karlsson at 2:55. They allowed Melker Karlsson to have a point tonight. I think that was nice of Eric to allow him to have one. Meyer then scored from Vlasic and Hurdle at 8:52, and it's 3-2. And it was a really solid road period for San Jose. Like this was a statement in and of itself. And even though I'm watching the Arizona feed, Tyson Nash can't say anything bad about the way San Jose is playing because they were playing a perfect road game. Now, in the third period, the Coyotes got an early power play, but the Sharks' penalty kill is simply fantastic. So, Grabner and Richardson had their chances. They ended up getting another power play for the Coyotes, and they got a third in that third period, but they could not solve that defense. They couldn't solve Jones when the shots came through, and he was holding as the Sharks kind of sat back a bit in that third period. Not a lot, but they did sit back at parts during that third period. Last minute, Jones stopped Stepan. Nice shot by Stepan that Jones snagged out of the air. The Coyotes took a timeout with 47.7 seconds left. What that did was get the Sharks a nice rest, and the empty netter Couture scores from Hurdle at 19:31. That's 2 points for Hurdle, 2 goals for Couture, and it's a good night to be a San Jose Shark as they win 4-2 in Arizona. Remember that slow start they were off to? Neither do they. Jones saved 21 out of 23 for a .913 save percentage tonight. He's got to get up to 900 on the season. He has to. Raanta saved 26 out of 29. Your 3 stars are Couture, Meyer, and Schmaltz. Yeah, it was Schmaltz. I was going to say Schwartz, but yeah, right, Nick Schmaltz. See, that's what happens. You've got Schmaltz in Arizona, you got Schwartz in St. Louis, but anyway. All right. Power play, 0 for 1 San Jose, 0 for 3 for Arizona. Your shots are 9-7 in the first for Arizona, 16-6 for San Jose in the second, 8-7 Arizona in the third. Final shots, 30-23. That being said, I now need to change boards.
Sometimes I'll start a sentence, and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way.
That was me when I saw Schmaltz on the board. That's my Michael Scott soundboard. This first time I've used it. I downloaded it on my phone a long time ago, and I was like, I can use that during reviews and power rankings and everything. And first time I've used it in a video. I use it around the house. All right, Chicago doesn't want to play Colorado anymore. Just cancel these games. They lost 5-2 last night, and tonight 7-3. So 12-5 in 24 hours. Oof. And the sad thing is, a shorthanded goal by Saad from Smith at 1:37 gets it started for Chicago. And when I saw that, I'm like, all right, Chicago, they're going to come back and get a victory, and we can really get a feud going here. No. The Avs got a power play, and they made him pay. Kadri scored from Rantanen and McKinnon at 7:53. That's right, Rantanen back, and he was prominent. Kadri would then score again from Nieto and Girard at 9:18. So pretty good game for Kadri. McKinnon would then score from Rantanen and Donskoy at 11:08, and it's 3-1 for Colorado. And at that point, I'm like, okay, so we know how this is going to go. The Hawks went to the power play, and then things get embarrassing. There was a 4-minute high stick for Graves, and so that's a 5-on-3 for 58 seconds. Chicago couldn't score on it. They get all that power play time, they couldn't score. 5-on-3, couldn't score. So second period, early on, Donskoy, he gets on the board again from Graves and Cole at 2:52. Rantanen's back, he scores from Girard and Donskoy at 5:50. Donskoy scores from McKinnon and Rantanen at 8:28. Is that a good time for me to remind people that I told Avalanche fans at the start of the year they were going to love Donskoy, and that I thought Donskoy needed a change of scenery from San Jose, and I like him as a player. He's always been one of my favorite players because he had a pretty good night. Then Jost scored from Tynan at 10:38, and it's 7-1. Kubalik would then score from Kampf and Murphy at 11:14. That makes it 7-2. I was like, I'm not going to take any more notes. Third period, and I just the only note I put up there is the Hawks may not like playing the Avalanche. This may not be a matchup they like. And then again, Kane keeps the point streak going on the power play from Gustafsson to Taves at 14:38. He may not be happy about this point streak right now. Like, yes, he's getting points in every game. He may not like the results for the team, though. Leonard would save 9 out of 14. Crawford saved 13 out of 15. I don't think it would have mattered if Tony Esposito was in net in his prime. Grubauer saved 26 out of 29. The Avalanche are officially back. 3 stars, Donskoy, Kadri, and Rantanen. And just wait till Landeskog is back. Because what we're seeing now is that we've got scoring depth with Colorado. Something that last year was lacking. That scoring depth behind that first line really wasn't there. And with Kadri and Donskoy, just assuming that you're going to put Landeskog, Rantanen, and McKinnon back together, now they can put together a really good second line as well. So these guys are legit. Power plays, 1 for 6 for Chicago, 1 for 4 for Colorado. It was a chippy game. These teams don't like each other, but Colorado won where it matters. Shots were 12-11 in the first in favor of Chicago, 13-6 in favor of Colorado in the second, and in the third, 11-5 for Chicago in the third. Final shots were 29 apiece. I think that the most entertaining thing I saw was the 4-minute high stick on Graves, and the announcers and seemingly the Avalanche complaining that drawing blood on Shaw shouldn't count since his face was basically broken before the play anyways. I thought that was really entertaining. Well, yeah, I drew blood, but look at him. He's got scars and scabs everywhere all over his face. Look at his nose. My God. Anyways, not a good night for Chicago in general. So yeah, next up, Winnipeg and LA. How do you frame this? It's a tale of two games, really. First period, Joakim Ryan would score from Brown at 7:34. The Kings were ahead 7-2 in shots at that point. The Kings are really good at home. They really are. Their record at home is much better than on the road. Prohorkin scores from Lewis and Ledoux at 12 minutes and 12 seconds, and the shots were 14-4 for LA. And all I could think was, are the Jets out of gas? Like, has this road trip made them so they've come out this flat? And after the first period, it looked like they were done. But in the second period, first note was that Brossoit is playing well. He's not getting any support tonight. The Kings were up 25-13 in shots at the half, but you could tell that things were picking up for Winnipeg. The Jets pressured late, but Jack Campbell was playing very, very well. Third period, Jets got an early power play. Campbell stopped Scheifele. Shortly after that power play ended, Roslovic scored from Pullman and Ehlers at 4:18. So it makes it 2-1. The shots evened up as that period went along for the whole game. Brossoit came out big at around the halfway mark. The Kings were definitely hanging on. The goaltender gets pulled with 1 minute and 10 seconds left. There's a timeout with 37 seconds left. And a very last-second save for Jack Campbell preserves the win, as LA tried to collapse but weren't able to do it because their goaltender said no. The LA Kings win this one in regulation 2-1. I didn't see this as a horrible loss for Winnipeg because they played really well in the second and third. It's just the goaltenders were both pretty good. Brossoit, 32 saves on 34 shots for him. Campbell saved 33 out of 34 at his end. Your 3 stars are Ryan, Campbell, and Roslovic. Power plays, Winnipeg went 0 for 3, and the Kings said, we don't want any power plays. And when you look at their power play percentage, I can't say I blame them. It's running at about 12% on the season, so it's probably best just not to get power plays and just decline them. Same as New Jersey and Ottawa need to do as well. Shots were 19-6 in the first in favor of LA, and then it favored Winnipeg from there. 15-8 in the second, 13-7 in the third. By the time this game ends, your shots are tied at 34 apiece. But for Winnipeg, they couldn't come up with that third win in California. They have to be happy with the way this road trip went, but they have to feel like tonight was kind of a lost opportunity. If they'd come out better in the first period, they likely would have won this. But great start for Campbell, who needed that. And we'll see if he ends up earning more starts as a result of that, or if Quick's going to continue to get a majority of the work. I'm thinking Quick probably gets a majority of the work. All right, moving along, the last game of the night, Vancouver in against Edmonton. So Vancouver coming off of that 8-6 loss. And I tore them a new one after that loss, as much as I do these days. I don't really tear into teams like I used to. I basically get it all out before the video camera starts to roll. I used to roll the video while I was ranting. I don't do that anymore. So tonight, the Canucks got an early power play. Smith denied Pettersson. You know what? The numbers don't show it, but Mike Smith had a good game. He did. Grayovac would then score from Pearson and Gaudette at 3:31 on the power play. This Grayovac kid's pretty good. He's making an argument to stay in the lineup, same as Gaudette. Smith then stopped a JT Miller shot. The Canucks were up 10-2 in shots at that point. The Oilers got a power play, and guess what? Pearson, shorthanded. Yeah, at 13:32, he gets a shorthanded goal. He already had a goal and a helper on the night. But McDavid would score from Bear after that power play ended at 14-14. So technically, Edmonton didn't score on the power play, but it's one of these things I've been talking about, where a team will score after a power play ends. It's technically 5-on-5, but they're playing against guys that are tired, and the goal happens because the power play happened. And I wish there was some kind of mechanism to measure that, because I keep seeing these stats where people say, oh, Edmonton got frustrated on the power play. And I think, well, yeah, but the McDavid goal was right after that power play. So they didn't technically score on the power play. But anyways, the Canucks then got a power play. Besser had a nice shot that Smith's glove denied. They were going glove side a lot on Smith tonight. So it was 2-1 after one. Second period. Zach Kassian scores for McDavid at 5:05. That's 49 points for Connor McDavid. That's not fair. But that would be the end of the scoring for the Oilers. And the interesting thing, too, this is the first game at home Leon Draisaitl does not get on the board. So, kind of big news there, I guess, if you're tracking that. The Oilers got a power play. It was very dangerous looking. Did not score. A lot of orange jerseys going to that net. Markstrom having to deal with a maze of players. I thought Markstrom played great tonight. Pearson would then score from Horvat at 13:47. It was a nice goal, that one. And then, it finally happens. Yes, Louis Eriksson. He scored a goal. He did. From Horvat and Pearson at 18:04. This is the first time in Tanner Pearson's career he's had a 4-point game. And for Eriksson, that's it. He's going to score 50 and 50 now. Here we go. I'm just kidding. But you could see when that puck went in, this was a huge relief for Louis Eriksson. Now, I'm not of the mind that Louis Eriksson magically will start scoring goals again if he gets more ice time. I don't think that's a thing. But he fit in on this line tonight, and it was nice to see. So when everybody's healthy for Vancouver, no, Eriksson doesn't get a top 6 spot. But for tonight, this was a good one. Third period, 1 minute and 21 seconds in, Levo with what was a nice sneaky little goal from Horvat and Virtanen. So Horvat with 3 assists tonight. Virtanen got on the board. I thought it was a good, hard-working forecheck that set this up for Virtanen. Glad to see him get a point there. The Oilers then got a power play. The Canucks got a power play after that. The most important save was Markstrom on McDavid. It felt like if that one had gone in, McDavid gets to 50 points. The Oilers build momentum. Keep in mind, the opening game for the Canucks this year was in Edmonton. They lost 3-2 when McDavid scored late in that game. So tonight, it didn't happen. Tonight, they locked it down. Not only did they lock it down, but they scored in the third to take a 3-goal lead and held it. So, very nice win over a team that had been playing very well in the Oilers. Markstrom saves 27 out of 29. Smith saves 33 out of 38. Your 3 stars, Pearson, Horvat, and McDavid. So, Connor McDavid gets on there, and he deserved to be on there. He did. He had the goal and he had the assist, and Zach Kassian continues to look fantastic out there. I had to laugh. If you haven't seen it, maybe you can track it down on Sportsnet /Hockey Night in Canada tonight for people who haven't decided not to watch it anymore. They had Kevin Bieksa talking in between periods, and he was showing Kassian running over Tanev and smiling after because they used to be roommates when they were both playing for the Canucks. So they roomed together on the road. And he mentioned how he got into a fight with Zach Kassian in an elevator, and it started with an elbow. He's like, yeah, he'll just cheap shot you out of nowhere, and then the fight's on. So I thought that was an entertaining story. I think if Kevin Bieksa got a permanent spot on that panel, that would be fantastic. Hopefully that happens, because I have a funny feeling there's a lot of good hockey stories there. And now I want to see footage from an elevator of a fight between Bieksa and Kassian that starts out with, knock it off, stop it, knock it off, and then the fight's on. Power plays, Vancouver 1 for 3, Edmonton 0 for 3. Smith's save percentage is ugly at 33 for 38, but I don't put that on him. Again, Vancouver's goals for the most part were pretty good. Shots were 17-7 in the first for Vancouver, 14-13 Edmonton in the second, and in the third the shots were 8 apiece for 38-29 edge in favor of the Vancouver Canucks. And now tomorrow night, Edmonton rolls into Vancouver. looking for revenge. You got your fingers crossed if you're a Canucks fan on this one, because the Oilers are probably going to come in hot, and they're going to probably pressure tons early. And odds are, because Markstrom starts tonight, we'll see Demko against Koskinen tomorrow night. For people curious about where teams are with power plays with the playoffs, right now Washington would play Pittsburgh in round one. Islanders would play Philadelphia. Boston would play Carolina. Florida would play Toronto. In the West, St. Louis would play Vancouver. The Colorado Avalanche would play Winnipeg, with Colorado having home ice due to the results from today. The Oilers would play Dallas, and Arizona would play San Jose. In the hunt, Vegas, Calgary, and Nashville in the West, and in the East, Buffalo, Tampa, the Rangers, and Montreal. So there you go. You're all up to date with the games and with where the whole playoff thing is right now, because we're at the point where it is kind of fun to look at it night after night, and I don't mind doing that. So it is kind of fun to see. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, as always. Which game surprised you the most? This kind of thing. And is goal scoring starting? Are we seeing the goal scoring starting to drop now that we're getting up to that part of the year where defense usually gets better? Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing right through. You just happened upon this video. I will be talking to you very soon, because the power rankings are up next.